Hi, this is Donald Grodoff with Focused Healthy Family. And Gina and I, we're going to be putting out some tips for the holiday season and realized last year we did a really good version of this. And so we decided to throw that out for this coming podcast. This is podcast number 193, and it's revisiting podcast number 147 from last year that goes through all the holiday tips that we would recommend here. So today we're just going to allow you to hear that podcast one more time. So we wish you the best for the holidays and hope these tips can help you a lot. So here we go. Thanks. My dad was one of the most handy persons I've ever known. He was both not a mechanic, a maintenance person, welder, could put anything together. And one of my favorite Christmas gifts was this um, little automobile. Now, this wasn't when back in the day when they had battery operated ones. These were just pedal type things that you could drive. But it was so cool. It was, like I said, it was probably my favorite thing to do outside. And so what I found out after some years afterwards is that what my dad had done was he noticed a neighbor of ours that was throwing away two different types of cars like this, where one the back end was messed up and one the front end was messed up. And like I said, my dad was this really wonderful welder, and he took those two and put them together as this beautiful, lovely Christmas gift for me. And it was the coolest thing to be. And it made, you think about all the gifts you get that you buy at a store. And this one, this one made a big difference, and it was by his love, not by, I don't think he paid for anything for these cars, but yet it was this wonderful creation he did for me, and I will never forget that. It was such a wonderful Christmas gift.
This is Gina
And this is Don.
with Focused Healthy Family, and this is podcast number 147. And as we approach the holiday season, we're talking about some tips, holiday tips, travel tips, family gathering party tips in regards to managing a family.
Well, the one I always like is the traveling one of, so we've been through many different traveling, going different places for holidays and all. And one thing I think about is when we go on travel, like if we go, especially if like go up to my house, my old home, my original home,
Where you're from.
where I'm from, there you go, is that we tend to then want to uh, talk about each of the different friends we want to see and where we want to go, and we plot out all of this stuff, but it's almost too much for one holiday. And I think it's better if we can kind of spread those out and do two trips back home or a couple trips back home to visit those other people.
I thought you were going to share the tip of inviting your friends to come. I know one time you had all your friends come to your mom's house, rather than us going to them.
That is a good
They
idea
came
too.
to us. I know I did that years ago. I think when Harrison was a baby with
Come into your
my college
parents' house.
friends.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they came to my brother's house because they live closer to him.
Ah.
So having people come to you if you're traveling from out of state, out of town.
And if you add it, if you add into that, when we're talking about seniors, of being more cautious about dragging them around or having different things at different places, depending on their age, whether they would like that or dislike that,
And
or
thinking about time factors, that it could be a lot for them to spend many hours somewhere away from home, or if they live at a facility, bringing a little bit of holiday to them. The client I work with, I probably shared this already, but they couldn't do transportation on Thanksgiving Day because they needed to be transported in a wheelchair. And so they did a Thanksgiving on the Wednesday before. So that's the other thing, especially this time of year, talking about seniors, is they get a lot of visitors. A lot happens around the holiday. So thinking about other days when there's less visitors, when there's less people around, it's great if you don't have family nearby to go visit some seniors. There's plenty of people at facilities who don't have family or friends in the area, don't have people coming to visit them. Just a quick little, just traveling around to visit. If you like to sing, you could do caroling. If your kids want to make cards, that could be a fun treat. Connecting with people who maybe don't have that opportunity for a lot of connections.
Well, and I also like to think about the food, especially, being now that I work with a naturopathic doctor, I start to learn about foods and how important it is, and to think about how to cut things in half, how to watch what you're eating, even during the holidays when, I this morning had to work with one of my patients, and in their program, they're cut back on a lot of things they can eat, like sugars and things like that. So they have to really plan out well what they want to eat. And I always tell them that they can't have little fudges where a small slice of this and a small piece of that. But I think it's important, like especially with kids, is feeding them a lot even before you head somewhere.
Yep, I was thinking that very same tip. You're going somewhere, it's going to be a while, you don't know how long until you're going to have food. Feed them something healthy, something with some protein, some good nutrition before you go. And then, they can still eat when they're out, or you don't have to worry about them having enough to eat. Bringing snacks along while you're waiting, especially if you're going to a restaurant. That can be a long wait between ordering and waiting for the food to arrive. Having a little snack for them to have in the meantime, because, kids who are over hungry, the behavior can
Get a little out of hand.
be challenging. And realizing hunger is a driving force of our behavior, and kind of planning ahead.
Well, and that's it. And on the senior side of it, you have dietary issues that go on with them, and what to be aware of and what to think about
Thinking about food consistencies, if they have any swallowing deficits, can they handle, foods with nuts in them? Do they have to have thickened liquids when they're drinking? What things can you do to accommodate them? My dad's last weeks, I was making him smoothies because they were thick and he had to be on thickened liquids, and he drank those up with delight. And finding fun, yummy treats like that for your kids that you can still have nutrition in them. My smoothies have spinach, and they can have protein powder and chia seeds, and they can also have almond milk and even maybe creamer, or
well, and a little bit of chocolate.
They can have that. Frozen berries, which can be nice and sweet, frozen bananas. So thinking about yummy fun treats, also baking with your kids, making your own homemade treats. If we're going somewhere and we're baking treat, I used to do this, the kids were involved in theater and other things, where there'd be maybe a final day gathering and everyone brings something to share. I would make gluten-free cookies or something I knew my kids could eat. And I would always take a couple and set them aside, because if we're putting them out for everybody, I wanted to make sure they would have some. And that way you're sharing, you're participating in the activity, and you're making sure your kids get something that meets their dietary needs if they have special restrictions. You can do that as well with other potlucks and, other foods that you're bringing somewhere. Letting people know ahead of time if you have dietary issues or concerns, so that they can be aware. We've had some wonderful family who've really stepped up for us and accommodated our food challenges to help make it easier on us. I know when we've traveled, sometimes we just plan on going shopping so that we can purchase the foods that we know that we can eat. and realizing if your kids are acting funny, it could be a part of what foods they're consuming. And so really paying attention to that and giving some grace, allowing some space for maybe having something they don't normally have as a treat, but recognizing just how that could affect them, and so that they don't overindulge. Maybe it's just they get to eat other things and then they have whatever one one special item, that it's not like 10 cookies, or it's
Yeah. Well, then the other, one of the other big ones I always like to think about is when you're planning for your trips and you're planning for what to do during the holidays, things to do, where to go and stuff like that. Well, one is we always talked about with kids is getting them involved, not just planning it all for yourself or thinking about it just for you or your husband or whatever. Think about the whole family.
What things do they want to do? What
Yeah.
might they enjoy?
Get out on the internet and look at the different events and think about what's most important. This time of year, one of the biggest things about holidays is getting together a family, not so much where it is or what it is, or even what day it necessarily is. It's about being around family, being around, getting the family together versus having to go here and there and all these different places.
Well, and on that note, Zoom, FaceTime, the platforms now that your family would gather on Christmas Eve, and when we weren't able to get there, we would join in via Zoom for a little bit, and we'd have a chat with them, and it could go around and we could talk to different people individually. We could see them, they could see us. And
hopefully we'll do that this year.
I know our kids enjoyed that, and being able to connect with people at a distance, and even be able to see them and talk to them. And that can be a great thing for seniors too, making sure you have a large enough screen as well that they can see, to be able to connect, especially maybe seniors with dementia. It might be overwhelming to have a room full of people, but connecting individually. Like today, we're going to reach out to these grandkids, and today we're going to connect with this person. And also thinking about reaching out to people they haven't talked to in a while, old friends, family members, other people you can connect with. I know for my dad's 80th birthday, we created a video, and we got his best friend from high school and college, who was his best man in his wedding, who doesn't do a whole lot with social media. And
his daughter
helped him get on Zoom so that we could interview him and record a message along with family members and other people. And it was great putting that video together, which you pretty much did. And then we got to share it, for my dad on his birthday. That was a fun way to bring other people to someone, even though, they weren't there in person.
So what other tips?
Go to look at holiday lights can be a fun adventure. And now you can go online and look up houses that have fun holiday lights. There's places you can go and pay to drive around and see lights. There's also we used to go to Christmas Eve service, and then we'd go driving around looking at holiday lights. And this was before you could easily locate things.
Remember there was one that they had, it was a house, but you could drive up, and within so many feet of it, you could pick up a local radio station that they played music, and it
music went to the
banded
lights,
into the lights and all that.
And it was just an individual who put this together. And so finding fun things like that, finding neighborhoods, you can drive around and view lights. Different communities and places will have different light displays. The zoo, if you have a zoo near you, we used to go down to the Riverbank Zoo in Columbia, South Carolina, and you walked through, which was really kind of fun.
Yeah, that's
and typically the weather wasn't too bad. And when the kids were little, we walked around and you could see the animals, and there were lights and different decorations all around the zoo. And it was a fun little adventure. And if you have a very precocious, quirky child, they would be looking for all the plugs and the lights where they were connected. Memories of the past. And thinking about traditions that you might not think about. There was a time when we hung our Christmas stockings on Christmas Eve, and it got stuck in our one daughter's head that was our tradition, and we were not allowed to hang them up until Christmas Eve. I snuck them up this year. But things that might be important to them that you might not think about. But ask them, what do you think of as our holiday traditions? What what things matter to them that they can be included in, whether it's baking together, whether it's going shopping together. Little spoiler tip, if you've got young ones listening, I'm going to talk about Santa Claus. So when each of my children reached the age where they understood Santa Claus, I let them in on a little secret. And I said, now that you know, you become part of Santa Claus. And they got to help me shop for stocking stuffers. And so even when my youngest came around, they got to help shop for stocking stuffers for their older siblings and for you. And so it's kind of a fun little tradition that I created. So what holiday traditions do you have? What new traditions? Maybe you've had some really challenging holiday seasons. What new thing can you start? What new just simple activity you can put into place? Maybe you have family members who work on holidays or different days, maybe you can pick a random, it's our Wednesday, Wacky Wednesday, whatever. Create something special that you can do to have, like you said, thinking about what matters, family time, being able to connect, do activities that you enjoy with people, whether it's putting a puzzle together, playing a game, watching a favorite holiday movie.
I don't know if this, I don't like to go on a negative side, but if you've lost somebody before this time, especially, even in like with your dad this year, is taking some time to think about them, to do maybe some traditions that they love to do. And just listening to everybody, letting people talk and understand what's going on and who they are and what's going on, about the loved one they lost.
Sharing memories. Just an idea popped into my head as you're opening gifts, let's share a memory about Grandpa.
Yeah.
And let's all take turns doing this. As a way to bring that family member there and their presence. And that can be difficult if it's, losing someone unexpectedly, very quickly, at a younger age than you typically think of someone passing.
Yeah, I just heard today about one of my aunts passing, and it brings back memories, and I actually have a video I can share about that I'm going to share with my family about it. But yeah, just living the memory of that person and bring it back into your heart and bring it back into your family, I think is important.
And like you said, taking into account different people's needs, their challenges. I remember years ago, we went to a holiday meal at our church, and it was like at 2 p.m. And our youngest was probably 3 or 4, and he wasn't eating. And someone was talking about, I don't know, someone made some comment about him. And we realized kind of after the fact, he doesn't normally eat at 2 o'clock.
No.
And, this was not a mealtime for him. So, no wonder he wasn't hungry. And I'm sure we had to feed him something around noon because he was used to eating then. And so kind of thinking about that, we often do meal times kind of different than our typical times that we eat. And that can affect people, especially people, and you see this with seniors and you see this with kids, especially kids that are neurodivergent, very used to those routines, and doing things outside of those routines can be really distressing. And we don't realize how many things can be outside the routine. They're now out of school. They're now not, doing their activities that they're used to. And now you're changing their meal times as well. And so it can be really disruptive to the system. And so finding a way to kind of help minimize those disruptions. And
well, it's setting expectations
Mhm.
for holidays, both travel time, gift time, all that kind of stuff, getting it ahead of time so that you don't run into that kind of scenario where they're stuck. And understanding, like you were saying, if the times are different, make sure that they understand that and know how to deal with it and help them to deal
Coping
with it.
strategies.
Coping
I was
strategies.
gonna say, we didn't even really talk a whole lot about conversation and communication yet. But I know in our early years of marriage, when we would go to family, we would talk about our expectations about being around family. And what would we do if one of us got uncomfortable, or having a word to let each other know that we needed a minute, we needed to step aside, that things can bother us, can tag us, can kind of trigger us into negativity or just having a hard time, and being aware and checking in with each other, even just having okay, let's check in, let's see how things are going, let's check in on the kids, or how about for this period of time we're hanging out with my friends, can you keep tabs on the kids, and we go over to this person's house, kind of sharing that responsibility.
Yeah, we still need that now. So all the different places and things we're going to do.
Okay. He's making a joke because we're having Christmas right here.
Yes.
And because we're not celebrating with my family until late January, my mom will come over Christmas, son and his partner, they'll come, and it'll be a small Christmas gathering.
Yeah, but we've done those the last couple of years. We've had to travel the last couple of years. We went up to Raleigh twice.
Yeah, so.
And both of those were fairly intimate for us too, which was nice.
Yeah, very intimate. Last Christmas, our daughter lived in a basement apartment. So there were 6 of us trying to eat dinner with no table. We brought the food. She didn't even have a regular kitchen. But yet we got together.
Yeah.
And
that's what's important. We do Thanksmas a lot of times, or we do stuff even between Thanksgiving and Christmas, or even on either one of those.
Lately it's been the week after Christmas. Got a son that works in retail, and so getting time off up until Christmas is, next to impossible. And so having a time when you can get together and enjoy that time together. So we've shared some of our tips with you. We hope that you find this helpful to you as you approach the dealing with holidays, family get-togethers, and really thinking about this throughout the year with other gatherings, going on vacation and things like that. But thinking about seniors' needs, your children's, and your needs. What is it overwhelming getting together with family? What can you do to step away? I know one time when kids were little, my brother, we all went out together. They went to a movie, and I went to tea place and hung out by myself for a little bit. And that was like a gift to me. So finding ways to incorporate that.
Yeah, it's important for us to take care of ourselves during this time too.
Very important. So tune in every Thursday to hear our podcast. Check out our previous podcasts.
Check out at focushealthyfamily.com, and you can find all the information there for us.
Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Again, these podcasts are aired on YouTube as well as audio versions on anywhere you get your podcast. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love you to share with other people. Tell us what you've enjoyed hearing. Tell us what you want to hear more of, what's been helpful to you. And reach out to us if you want to seek our resources and ways that we can help you, between Ask the OT and ways that I can help you navigate caring for a senior, and working on your own emotional toolkit, doing tapping with Don.
Yeah, I do it about twice a month. I'll do each month. I'll do a session where we tap as a group, free, and like I say, can help bring down that anxiety that might be happening for you, even if it's not Christmas. It can be anything.
And whatever holidays you celebrate, we wish you happy holidays.
Yes.
And look forward to seeing you again. And remember,
Go ahead.
how we speak to our children and our loved one shapes their future and ours.